Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Scare Us Already, the podcast where we discuss horror movies, both old and new. We give our opinions and we continue our search to find something that will scare us. I'm your host, Cheyenne, with my co-host, Dave.
Hi, everyone.
If you like what you hear, give us a subscribe and a like, and follow us on our socials down below. But for now, let's get into it.
Yeah, so this weekend, moviegoers were given the release of the anticipated A24 film Heretic, starring Hugh Grant. Based on the religious theme of this film, we decided to include the film Azrael in this week's episode, since we did not get a chance to review this film when it was limited released back in September, but it's now available on streaming. Did either of these films succeed in scaring us? Well, we'll find out. So, Shai, tell us a little bit about Heretic.
So, as you said, Heretic was released this Friday, which is November 8th, 2024. It was directed and written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, starring Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East. The movie follows two young missionaries, Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes, who are forced to prove their faith when they knock on the wrong door and are greeted by a diabolical Mr. Reed. He is charming, intelligent, and dedicated to ensnaring these young women in his deadly game of cat and mouse. Currently, it has a 93% critic score on Rotten Tomato and a 79% audience score. What did you think of this? I know you have a very clear feeling towards A24. So what did you think going into this one? What did you think when you saw the trailer and going into it, I should say?
Seeing the trailer several times since we go to the movies a lot. I was excited for this film. I thought it looked really good. It looked very interesting. But I will have to say, I have to start off by saying Heretic is not a horror film.
Agreed.
I would consider this a suspense or psychological thriller, but not a horror film. I thought the film was good overall. There were some scenes that created some very tense moments, but the film felt very slow and in some cases boring. How about you?
You thought this was good? I hate this movie. So I agree with you. I think this is definitely a psychological thriller with a weird mystery thing towards the end where things were getting solved in a very weird, like, glass onion style way.
Right.
I did not like that part of it. I thought that was really, really frustratingly dumb. I understood it. I got it. I liked that things were revealed the way that they were and the things that happened. I thought they were clever enough that I didn't see them coming, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But I just found like the reveal of it to be done in such a like Sherlock Holmes style that it kind of took me out of it. But yeah, it definitely wasn't a horror. People walked out of my theater an hour into the movie. I'm not even my theater was packed for one, which I was very excited for this movie going into it. I am on the fence with A24 as a whole. I like Hereditary. I like I watched the TV Glow. Hated The Witch. Hated It Follows. Mm-hmm. So this one, I was kind of on the fence. Where is it going to go with it being a religious horror? But the first hour and 20 minutes maybe is so painfully slow. It had interesting arguments in it about religion and the ideas of religion and marketing and yada, yada, yada. But it was not what it was advertised to be whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I will say you are correct that the film does get bogged down with dialogue that makes the film feel more like a school theology class. And when you had those moments, it kind of killed any built up suspense or tension from the previous scene. So it's like sometimes the film would just come to a crashing halt, and then we get this, dialogue of just, religion this, religion that. I would have to disagree with you as far as the breakdown, because that was kind of the Hugh Grant character, Mr. Reed's plan is to eventually get you to figure out what he's doing. So
that's true.
So then he can say, "Ha, now I got you." and now I'm in control. So that basically is the whole premise of, you know, having the one person kind of slowly figure out what's he's doing and what's his plan. But I will say the twist was anticlimactic,
Yeah.
and the ending was very predictable.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the ending. I was kind of hoping it would go a different way. And it was also
Mm-hmm.
kind of dumb because I don't want to give any I don't want to give any spoilers, but
Okay.
someone okay, I'm going to put a spoiler alert. So spoiler alert because I don't know how to say this without giving anything. But someone bleeding out the way someone was for that long of a time period.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb, in my
Well,
opinion. They
and
do it so she
but
melts
it
around.
also plays to the whole religious belief that, you know, of praying, and so you can kind of
A
assume,
miracle,
assume that by
I
praying,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
I was kind of hoping. Well, I was kind of hoping that it would prove him right.
mm,
With that one thing, because I don't want to
right.
spoil anything, but that it would kind of prove him right and that he wasn't super crazy, but it wouldn't have worked with how the story was going, obviously, and the big reveal that they do of his plan and what he does and how he does all this stuff. But yeah, so I thought that it was interesting. Like I said, I didn't see a lot of it coming. The big spoil or the big twist, I didn't see it coming. I was like, okay, this is taking a turn that is keeping me at least enthralled, but it just took too long to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yeah, like you said, it comes to a halting stop. I really enjoyed the beginning part and him questioning them and him kind of playing with their minds. That was fine. That was decent. But then when he
Mm-hmm.
goes into this whole rant about Monopoly and the creators of Monopoly and this, it stopped it dead in his tracks. And then it was like, okay, cool, we're moving forward. And then it would stop itself again with another long-winded argument from Hugh Grant, and he did a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal job. All the actors did a
Mm-hmm.
great job. I thought everyone was really great in this movie. It just was the writing of it was so, it wanted to be so smart.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and that was a character, you know, Hugh Grant wants to be smart. His character wants to be this genius guy who has everything over these women, but
Mm-hmm.
as it didn't work
Yeah.
well in the movie.
Well, I thought, I agree. Hugh Grant does a really good job as a nice, charming, kind of creepy old man. Um, and Sophia Thatcher and Chloe East, they give very convincing performances that keep you interested in the film. You know, some of the looks that Sophia Thatcher gives, it's just like, ooh, I would hate to piss her off.
I know. I was like, she's gonna like full on. I was very disappointed with what happens with her character so
Yeah, I
soon.
mean, it's definitely a typical A24 film that is built on thought provoking content
Hmm.
instead of cliche jump scares and typical horror film tropes. Um, and that's kind of always been one of my arguments about A24 films, is that they label something a horror film, like The Witch, and
Hmm.
it comes at night or whatever. Um,
Uh,
to me, it's like it's not a horror film, and I know these are more psychological. You know, oh, what would you do if you were trapped in someone's
yeah,
house, no cell phone service, blah blah blah.
yeah.
So yeah, for some people that's scary. For some people they put themselves in the character's shoes, and it's like, ooh, what would I do? I'd be scared and I'd be this. But for me, a horror film has to also not only involve the audience but scare the audience. I don't think I felt scared with this film at all. I mean, you know, when they finally went down into the basement, and I don't want to give too much away, there were some
Yeah,
scenes that were creepy, but not
yeah.
exactly scary.
There was one jump scare. I didn't jump at it, but there was one jump scare that some people in the theater did jump at,
Mm-hmm.
where there's someone behind someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, besides that, there's no actual like scares, traditional scares. But I will say,
Right.
as a psychological thriller, yeah, this one is it's messed up. It's definitely something where, as especially as a female, um, this is a scary thought. These are
Right.
scary situations that, sadly, especially for young missionary women, this would be probably very terrifying. It would probably
Hmm.
stop many from wanting to go on any missions. But I thought that this was definitely more of a horror, I guess, if you're someone who is maybe dealing with religious thoughts and questions.
Hmm.
I could see this being, more thought provoking in that aspect, and maybe a horror provoking idea if you're someone who is questioning, I guess, society and religion and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't find it scary. I found some of the argument stuff interesting, but it's nothing new. It's the same
Right.
arguments you hear from any religious type of movie and any sort of posting and
Yeah.
anything that
But
kind of even explores this sort of idea.
right, belief versus disbelief. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in the devil?
But not even just
Things like
that, just
that.
like, if are you born with innate belief, or do you get, brainwashed by your society and who you're around? I mean, it's the same argument you can find in any of the pure flick movies that are
Hmm.
religious based, so it I think that this movie handles the topic well, and I think once it gets to the scares, maybe an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, it gets much more interesting and much more thrilling. The scene where they almost find a way out and are trying to get the
Hmm.
matches. That part, I was intrigued. I was interested. I was with the girls, feeling my heart racing. And then again, yeah, it gets to a halting stop, and it's just kind of like, cool. I
Yeah.
guess let's just get through this movie.
Yeah, it definitely has its flaws. And it was it was entertaining to a point. Again,
Hmm.
bogged down by a lot of dialogue. Is it a film that I would see again? Probably not.
No,
Um, I don't think it was good enough to be like, oh yeah, I'll definitely watch that again. It was okay, move on.
I definitely don't think I would recommend it to most people.
Hmm.
There are specific people who I know who like A24 and like these kind of movies that I'd be like, yeah, you'd like this. But most people, I think I wouldn't recommend this as a movie to watch if you're into just like general scary movies.
Hmm.
Um, as well as it also took me out of it because they had a whole second part, not second part, but like parts of it that would go to Topher Grace's character, who was like the missionary leader, elder,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And those things I thought were really unnecessary. I did not. It took me out of the things that we were dealing with Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes.
Hmm.
So that part I also thought was just kind of like unnecessary, and also kind of stopped the action in its tracks because it didn't really
Um,
lead anywhere.
actually, I would have to disagree there also, because it gave the audience hope that okay, yeah, someone's looking for them, and then it also kind of, um, in a roundabout way, kind of leads to one of the discoveries at the near the end
Yeah.
of the near the end of the film. So because I'm sure most audience members were asking themselves the same question when the elder gets to Mr. Reed's house. And like I said, in a roundabout way, it kind of explains itself towards the end of the film. So I thought it wasn't unnecessary. I thought it was a good kind of um, detail piece.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess I just wish that they did it differently. It just felt like it was breaking up where I was, because it was happening when the women were at their most, um, at the point where they were most trying to get out, like where they were really looking for a way out. And it just felt like it
Mm-hmm.
was breaking that tension up
Mm-hmm.
too much, in my opinion. But I don't know. I don't know where they could have put it in where it wouldn't have broken something. It would have broken either a speech that Hugh Grant was giving, or a monologue that he was giving, or the tension towards the end of it. So I don't know. But to me, it just took me out of it every time it was switched to him.
Okay.
But all in all, I give this movie a thumbs down. I don't think it's a horror movie for one, and I don't think that it's a good movie at all, in my opinion. What
Yeah,
about
hey,
you?
fair, fair. As I said earlier, I thought Heretic was good overall. But as a horror film, I would have to give it a meh kitty. Um, as a psychological thriller, I would probably give it a thumbs up. But
Really?
yeah, I mean it as a
I'm so
psychological
shocked.
thriller, I thought it played well, but it wasn't a horror film.
I would give it a meh as a psychological thriller. I think it's
Really,
so monologue heavy, and it's so, and
it
I get it.
is.
I get that that's his character, and I've met men like that. I've met those kind of guys who think that they are the freaking geniuses who wrote all the textbooks in the world. So I get like the kind of character they were trying to make him. It was so dragging, and that I wish that they had entered the game basically sooner. And I know that the whole thing is his game, but you know what I mean, like the physical game of it sooner, just
Mhm.
because I feel like by the time we get there, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I have listened to this guy monologue, like you said, kind of like a freaking theology class. So
Mhm.
I give it a meh. I think that if they had gone into it sooner, I maybe would have given a thumbs up. I'm just not surprised. You're so harsh on A24 usually.
Yeah, and I'm trust me, I am not praising this film. I'm not.
No.
I'm not one of those that's like, oh yeah, it's so thought provoking, and I love it, and blah blah blah. I thought the directing was really really good.
The directing was solid.
The films, there are a lot of scenes that were very good to me. Like was like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, I like this. I like the way they filmed this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this.
Okay.
It was a slow story, but the filming, the tension, it kept me interested. But again, like I said, it's like the dialogue would bring the film to a complete halt
Yeah.
and pretty much kill any previous tension or suspense. And that was one of the big downsides of the film.
Yeah. I will agree though. Yeah. Beautiful movie, very well edited, very well filmed. I don't think that they relied too heavily on anything like too many close-ups or too many zoom shots or anything like that. Like they did a very clean job. It was
Hmm.
I like the movie as in that aspect of it a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's my rating. So maybe I was a little harsher. And maybe it's because I don't know. I've seen enough movies where I've heard this argument before, as well as in my day to day life. So
Hmm.
maybe that already had kind of just like soured me to the whole movie in general. Plus, being married to a Mormon made it a little bit more fun, though. Getting to I got home and asked them many questions.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So
Anyway,
I guess if you want my overall um, opinion,
yeah.
or it's a meh. I give it a meh.
Okay, you give it a meh.
Yeah, as a horror
And
film,
that
yes.
works. But yeah, if you're into that kind of psychological thrillers, yeah, it's a decent watch towards the end of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So
All right. So how
on to
about
Azrael.
Azrael? Hmm.
This one was released in limited theaters on September 27th, 2024. Directed by E.L. Katz and written by Simon Barrett. It stars Samara Weaving, Vic Harmon Sohn, and Katarina Untz. In a world where no one speaks, a devout female-led community hunts down a young woman who has escaped imprisonment. Recaptured, Azrael is due to be sacrificed to an ancient evil in the wilderness, but fights for her own survival. Currently, this movie is sitting at a 73% critic score and a 62% audience score on Rotten Tomato. I was lucky enough to catch this in theaters. So I've been sitting on this movie for a while now. And I'm very excited that you were able to watch it on streaming because, spoiler, I guess, towards the end of my review, but I love this movie. I really liked it a lot.
Hmm.
What did you think of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, I wasn't able to watch it when it was originally released due to the limited release of it. It was playing in very few theaters in my area. So I didn't get to watch it when it first came out, but I did watch it on streaming. And I will say, I thought it was a well done movie. I liked it a lot. However, the only critique that I had about this film is that I would have liked to have a little more background in the beginning. Um,
Yes.
we're just kind of thrown into the middle of a story and left to figure it out with no dialogue.
Yeah, that's like literally my first note of this movie was I understand they do this text beginning about quote from the Bible. I don't know if it's a
The
real quote or
rapture,
not, but
yeah.
the
Hmm.
rapture and everything. So I it took me a second to understand that it was post rapture, post apocalypse. But I
Hmm.
really do wish that they had said how long it had been since the rapture because there were things
Right.
that just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, it had to have been long enough that a community was built who was um, worshiping these demons or whatever that came to Earth
Hmm.
and created an entire society based off of it and chose a leader and an entire pregnancy. So it had to have at least been 9 months. But I thought that the zombies were interesting. The zombie like demons were an interesting creature. I really enjoyed them. I thought that the
Hmm.
movement was scary. I thought that the way they attacked was scary. I thought the look was really good. I really, really enjoy these monsters, these
Hmm.
creatures, because we haven't, to my knowledge, seen much like this that move the way that they do and act the way that they do. Um, so yeah, I thought that that was really cool. I did not. So going into this because I just saw the movie come up on a theater showing, so I watched it. I didn't know this movie was about a society that doesn't talk. So the whole time I'm sitting there like, okay, like, are they going to talk when they're like in this new community? Is it going to be silent for a minute and then go somewhere? And it was just silent the whole thing, minus one
Hmm.
part of it where someone comes speaking, I think, like Italian. So that part it threw me a little bit, but not enough to not enjoy the movie. I thought that the pacing was phenomenal in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Samara Weaving, I know I've mentioned it on
I
previous
love her.
episodes. She seems to love to be chased and covered in blood. She does such a good job at it, and her eyes are so wide and big. You know, she really basically pulls this movie off on her own. I mean, pretty much all alone.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would have liked more detail as to what happened, how long it's been. You know, the same things that you kind of pointed out. Were basically brought in the middle of a story, and then it once you figure it out, the film is pretty simple and predictable from
Hmm.
there. But pace wise, action wise, again, very, very well done movie. And the reason why we decided to include this film is because of the kind of religious theme as well, that the rapture has happened and now the survivors are paying for their sins by not being able to talk, by giving up their ability to speak, um, as well as being hunted down by these demon creatures that are out in the wilderness. You know that they have to protect themselves from those as well as not have the ability to talk. And they're being led by this female, the prophecy or disciple or whatever. So they don't really dive too much into the story of her pregnancy, and you just see this drawing of a blonde haired kid,
Uh huh.
like it's some type of prophecy that's the reason
Well, I think
why
you can
they.
assume from the rapture.
Mhm.
Isn't the story of the rapture like until the omen is born? And then he'll lead the army against the angels or whatever.
I'm not too familiar with
I'm
that
I don't know
scripture.
too from.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're. So I mean, that's what I assumed it was based off of the ending of the movie.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's what the rapture says is like whoever's left behind and the omen will come and raise an army against the angels and everyone who's been chosen for the rapture, something like that.
Okay.
So that's what I assumed it was, and that was the prophecy, and she was the chosen pregnant woman to carry the omen.
Or we can also assume that, just like in Heretic, she's controlling everyone through false prophecy. You know,
Well,
she's
spoiler
making
alert.
them to,
Spoiler alert, but at the end, I mean, the demons praise this thing. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
assume it's either that she got pregnant from a monster or demon, or that's what it was the omen.
Oh, okay.
That's my assumption. So, end the spoiler alert. But yeah, from what I know of the rapture, from what I know of very little of the rapture, is that I think it's like supposed to be the omen is born and whatnot. But
Okay.
I did enjoy the fact that we didn't get any of that reveal. I mean, if you know the rapture story, maybe you'll be able to figure that out pretty quickly. But I like that it wasn't something I pieced together until closer towards the ending of the movie. Is when
Mm-hmm.
I started to kind of piece that together and go, oh, okay, I think that's where we're going with this move. With this, but overall, I thought that every slow part that it had was very far and few between, and it did not last very long. It was action packed. I felt so bad for this woman. She had no break, and it was all in like one night,
Mm-hmm.
and never ending for her, and it was like exhausting. But I will say, one question I do have is how long has it been? Because she and her boyfriend at the beginning of the movie don't seem to they know about the people, but they don't seem to know about the creatures when she like sees one,
Mm.
and then is all of a sudden being chased by them all night long. So I was a little confused on that, of like how they were living in this forest and never seemed at least to have come across these creatures.
Right.
So that part was a little weird to me. And she was very proficient with the gun. Once she had one, she was extremely proficient at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not without holes in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, overall it was a pretty good movie. I liked it a lot. So what did
Do
you
you think there'll be
give?
a sequel?
I don't think so.
I don't think. I hope not, but I could see them doing it.
Yeah.
If it
No,
does well enough on streaming, I could see it.
I
But I
think
hope
this
they
would be
don't. I think that the
one
movie
and
was
done.
great.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think the movie's really good. I think any sequel will kind of bog it down and do too much. But I give it a thumbs up. I think that everyone should watch it now that it's on streaming and that it's available to be watched. I think that this is a really good movie. I think E.L. Katz did a great job directing it. I think that Samara Weaving, she's becoming one of my new favorite horror movie actresses.
Mm-hmm.
She's just done so well in every movie I've seen her in so far. So I really want people to see this movie. I think it's well deserved. I wish it had gotten a better um, theatrical release, but
Mm-hmm.
I hope that it finds its home on streaming. I really, really personally enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the Shutter originals don't get a large release in theaters. They usually get
No,
a
it's
very
very
limited
new.
release. Yeah.
Yeah, which
But
I
yeah,
so far liked a lot of Shutter originals.
yeah, there've been some good ones, and there's been some like in
Yeah.
a violent nature. Yeah.
uh,
But I will say, and that was another movie that had very limited dialogue.
very. Yeah. Yeah. Very limited dialogue as well.
But yeah, I agree. I would give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed this
Yay.
film. I did read some of the reviews, and some of it was a lot of bashing. But some of it did point to they would have liked more details in the
Yeah.
beginning rather than kind of starting in the middle of a story and having to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I wish that
some
they had at
critics were a
least
little harsh.
I wish that they just had something that would have shown like how long it's been. Or
Mm,
even if it was minimal dialogue, if only the prophet maybe was allowed to speak and had just given like a sermon at the beginning,
mhm.
to her people of like, it's been this many years, the demons have, like, just kind of explaining a little bit of the history in that one chunk sermon, I think would have kind of saved it just that much more, where I would have gone, okay, now I kind of understand where we are, what's happening,
Right.
why silence is, because, again, I don't know enough of the Bible to know about the whole silence thing, and that being a repentance for sins. So that also kind of, I was like, I don't know if that's a real thing in the Bible, but that seemed odd and random.
Yeah, I thought maybe the whole silence, not being able to speak, was to keep them from being attacked by the
Yeah, that's what
demons.
I thought.
Yeah, that they couldn't talk, so the demons couldn't hear them or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I had assumed in the beginning.
Yeah, but then it was clear it was like the blood and everything. So I don't know which one it was and why that's a thing, but maybe it is in the Bible that I just don't know of, and so maybe it's like an actual reasoning. I'm assuming it is, since they had the quote up there with the chapter, and it shows you how little I paid attention in church. The chapter and the number thing in the Bible.
Yeah, I don't confess to saying I know the Bible backwards and
Yeah, by
forward.
heart or anything.
There's a lot of things I still don't. I'm not clear on or remember.
But either way, I think, yeah, that was the only thing that I wish, was that maybe she had been the only one allowed to speak as the prophet, or
Hmm.
as the Holy New Virgin Mary or whatever, and that she had given a little bit of history of what was happening. Just because, yeah, that part kind of confused me. We got no flashbacks except one flashback that showed something that had happened in the movie, which I'm just noting because that really pisses me off when people do that. I hate that so much in movies. But I wish we had gotten, like, when she was knocked out or something, a few flashbacks of the world before the rapture or during the rapture,
Hmm.
or something, just to kind of showcase, like, was she a child when the rapture happened? Was she a full-grown adult? Did this just happen recently?
Right.
Was she born into a world after the rapture? So that part is the only thing that I kind of wish had been added, is some flashback or some sermon or something to just give us a timeline.
Right. Well, and you can always tell those type of films where it's like, okay, we've got 21 days in this
Yeah.
area. We have to film the whole film right here within
Let's do it.
this
Let's get it
this
done.
yeah this 10 yards of area. So
Yeah,
can't
but
do
for
anything else.
a limited movie, for a movie that takes place in about a day in one area, I thought that they did a great job, or all in
Hmm.
all. And I don't know if they had limited resources or a limited budget or anything, but for what they had, they did. It was a really solid movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
I
I would
agree.
add this to a list of, I would consider it zombie like, so I would add this to like a zombie movie style. And
Hmm.
so if you were to do that, this is probably one of my top zombie movies lately.
Yeah. I don't know if I would. I mean, they were kind of
Not
zombie
at
like,
my
but they
top.
but they were also kind of demonic. You know,
Well, if you
almost.
literally take out the rapture story,
Hmm.
it's just zombies.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, apocalyptic. Zombie people
Eat
that
humans, drawn to the
survive
smell of
are
blood.
demon. Yeah, are zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if I had walked into the movie late and missed the rapture thing, I would have assumed this was a zombie movie that had a really
Mhm.
weird ending. But yeah, so that's my take on it. I give it personally a thumbs up, Kitty,
Yep. Thumbs
and you
up
give
as
it a thumbs
well.
up, Kitty. So solid movie. First one, half and half. You liked it more than I did, but
But I think
sadly,
we I think we both
I
I
don't.
think we both concluded though that it was a meh. Heretic was
It
a
was a
meh.
meh. Well, no, I give it a thumbs down. I
Okay.
gave it a straight up thumbs down. As a psychological thriller, I gave it a meh, but as a
Oh,
horror movie, I gave it
okay.
a thumbs down.
All
Yeah.
right.
So did Azrael manage to scare you at any
No,
point?
no. It was a good, I would say, suspense horror film.
Yeah, I
Didn't
was
have a
10.
lot of horror in it, but yeah, it
No,
was
I was.
decent as.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it was decent as a horror film. Um, that I liked. Well paced, but yeah, didn't scare me.
Yeah, I think that there was a few moments where I was looking in the darkness and looking behind her to see any of the creatures coming. It was tense, but I don't think I was scared at any point that I remember. But I was tense.
Mhm.
I thought like I said, great pacing. So sadly, we have not found a movie that has scared us yet, but we will continue our search for that perfect movie. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe Nosferatu in December will manage to scare us or something. But
Maybe.
we have a few more movies coming up. We'll see what we do next week. But we hope that you will join us for it. And remember to give us a like and subscribe. Follow us down below on our Instagram and our X. And let us know what you want to see us talk about next and what you thought of these movies. Thank you.
Bye.
Mm.